For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record, for the record, for the record, for the record, for the record.
Hey, what up, fam? Thank you for joining me for this first Thanksgiving side series. We're going to start out with sweet potato casserole. This casserole definitely has a place on your Thanksgiving table. Okay, first we're going to start off with 3 sweet potatoes, about medium to large sweet potatoes. And then we're going to take a fork, a sharp fork as you can see, and we're going to pierce the skin on our sweet potatoes to ensure that they have some venting. We don't want them to explode into our oven because that will cause other issues that we definitely don't want to take care of. I know I don't. On the side you see there's a stem. That stem came from the middle potato. If you do have one of those, go ahead and cut it off and toss it because you don't want it to burn up in your stove. There's really no point for it. So make sure your oven is on 350 degrees and bake these for about 35 to 40 minutes or until fork tender. Now once they're almost done, we're going to start on our mixture. We're going to start off with some brown sugar. We're going to pack that in at a half a cup starting off. And then we're going to go in with another half a cup of granulated sugar. Now we're going to use some pure vanilla extract. I said pure, please don't use imitation. We're going to go in with 1.5 teaspoons of the pure vanilla extract. Now we have 2 large eggs. We're going to go ahead and crack those in. Don't do what I do, you guys. Go ahead and crack them in a bowl to make sure that they are good eggs and you know there's no issues with them and you don't get any shells in your dish. So crack them in a bowl first and then pour them into your bowl. But me, I like to live a little dangerously, I guess. Now we have some half and half. If you don't know, half and half is half milk and half cream. And we're going to go in with a half a cup of that. Now we're going to add in some all-purpose flour. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and we're going to use 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, depending on your taste, depending on what you like. You can go ahead and use a half a teaspoon, or excuse me, you can go ahead and use a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half. Once you have all your ingredients in your bowl, go ahead and get you a whisk and whisk them together, making sure that everything is incorporated. Now make sure you mix well because we don't want any flour chunks in our mixture here, so mix well. Now our sweet potatoes are done. They're a little ashy, but they're done. So what you can do to make sure that yours are done is take a fork and stick down into them. If there is no resistance, then they should be done. Now these suckers are hot, so we're going to go ahead and push them to the side and let them cool off. To this bowl, we're going to go ahead and add in our flour, all-purpose flour, of course, and we're going to use 1/2 cup. Now we're going to use a whole cup of chopped pecans. Now we have some more brown sugar, and we're going to go ahead and use 1 cup of brown sugar. Make sure you pack it. Also, we're going to use 5 tablespoons of salted butter. If all you have is unsalted, you add in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If not, then you can just omit it. But you do need a little salt in your sweet dishes just to make them round out. Now take your spatula and press and mix, press and mix. The reason for pressing is to get that flour incorporated into your brown sugar and your butter. We don't want to see any white in our topping. So we're going to mix and press that flour into the rest of the ingredients. You guys, forgive my throat. I don't know what's going on with my throat. I'm trying to hold it together for you guys. But go ahead and mix and make sure you go from the bottom up, because you don't want any little flour pockets to be at the bottom of this. So mix well. And once you finish, this is what your mixture is going to primarily look like. All of the white is gone. There you go. Now we're going to try to work on these potatoes, y'all. These potatoes try to take me out. These things are still hot. Don't do as I did. Don't just set the whole potato to the side and try to work on them. Make sure when you set them to the side to cool, you slice them open so that some of that heat can escape that potato. These things were so hot, they were trying to take my fingertips off. I needed my fingertips. I need them. But I was trying to hold it together for the sake of this video. But what you see me doing right here, slicing them open, when you sit them to the side, that's what you need to do. Sit them to the side, slice open just as this. Now I went and got me a container so that I can put the sweet potato inside, away from the skin. Once I get it away from the skin, but y'all, I was doing my best. My hands was on fire. Things was just in the way. But I got it done. I got it done. Just do the best you can to get all of that sweet potato outside of the skin. And take your time. Don't do what you see me doing. Got my fingertips on fire. They are. Okay, I was so happy to be done with these sweet potatoes. Yeah, I felt like I needed to run my fingers underneath some cold water. Now we can go ahead and get rid of our pan and our spoon. Now we're going to go ahead and get a potato masher, or you can use a fork. If you don't have a potato masher, don't let that stop you. You can use the back of your fork, or you can use a whisk. You can use a whisk to mash those potatoes down. What you're trying to do is trying to get all of the big clumps out. Now, if you do see what I just saw in some sweet potatoes, excuse me, y'all, my throat. In some sweet potatoes, they have little brown spots. And if you see those, you can take them out. If not, that's up to you, but I tend to dig those out. So just go ahead and mash all the big clumps of sweet potato as much as you possibly can. You're trying to go for a smooth mixture. Y'all help me. I need some medicine. So we're going to go back in with our we're going to take our mixture that we mixed up earlier, give it one final whisk, and then we're going to pour it in. Now, I don't know why, instead of me pouring the sweet potato inside of the big bowl, I poured the mixture inside of the little bowl. I don't know, y'all, but it don't matter. It's all going to get mixed. So we're going to go back in with a rubber spatula and we're going to mix that well. Now, when you're mixing, take your time because you still might find some large clumps of sweet potato, and you can just take your spatula and mash that down and it should mix in rather well. Make sure you get the sides and the bottom so that everything has your flavoring that you work so hard to create. Now to this mixture, just to let you know, if you like, you can also add some nutmeg. I'm not a big fan of nutmeg, but you can add nutmeg, and you can also add cloves. And if you're interested in ginger, you can add a little pinch of ginger as well. Depending on your taste, make this recipe your own. Just like I always tell you, create something that your family will like. Make it your own. Whatever your palate tells you to add it. So once you're finished mixing, your mixture is going to look a little bit like this. So we're going to sit that to the side and we're going to grab our baking dish. Now I would suggest that you use a smaller pan than this. I believe this is about a 9 by 13. You might want to use, something a tad bit smaller than this, but this is what I had, so this is what I used. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray my pan with some butter flavored spray. And I'm going to go ahead and pour my sweet potato mixture into my pan. Once I pour it in, you'll see why I should have used a smaller pan, but I didn't have any, so sometimes you got to just use what you have. So then you're just going to level this out and make it as even as possible on top. Now, you can use a dish this size if you're planning on making a bigger sweet potato casserole. Now, you could have added 3 more potatoes to this and that would have been fine. It would have fit this particular dish. But I only used 3 medium to large sweet potatoes, so this is what I got from that. Now, if I was to add 3 more, it would definitely be big enough for this dish. So now we're going to go in with our topping that we created, and we're going to spoon that on top, and we're going to level it out as best as we possibly can, making sure that we pay attention to the sides and the corners. Now, if you are not a fan of pecans, you can definitely omit pecans. You can add walnuts, or I don't know of any other nut that would go in here other than pecans and walnuts. I think walnuts are a bit strong for this, but to each his own. Use it at your own discretion. If you don't like nuts, period, you don't have to add them. You can just use the flour and the flour and the butter, and also on top, if you like, you can sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon. If you're a big fan of cinnamon, go ahead and sprinkle some of that on top. Make this dish your own. Now we're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. And once it comes out the oven, it's going to look like this. Nice and light golden brown on top. And y'all, this is hot. So I want you to let it sit for about 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long you can hold off. But 15 to 20 minutes is ideal, just to let it cool off a bit. If you respect your gums and your tongue, I will let it cool off. I'm going to serve it up, and this is what it looked like. Now, you guys, this is so good. This definitely has a place on your Thanksgiving table. It is delicious. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. It's not so sweet that you're like, woo. You know, it is very delicious. It's smooth, very flavorful. You will be definitely proud to serve this at your Thanksgiving table. Now, if you have any ideas of anything that you would like to see me create on this Thanksgiving side series, please leave it in the comment section below. I will greatly appreciate it, and I will do my best to try to get to it for you. I want to thank you for joining me on this first Thanksgiving side series, and I will talk to you guys later.